Hi guys, welcome back. I think that this might be the last episode for Keeping Up With Me HB because I, as an individual, really struggle to find that this is valuable. However, Chino and I had a short little off-air conversation, didn't we, Chino?
Yes, we did.
And he doesn't seem to think that's a good idea. So I need to be convinced why this shouldn't be the last episode.
Well, let's just, if we look back at your last video that we posted last Thursday,
Okay.
the first comment from a Mackenzie Zeman, I want to say, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. She says, I never want these videos to stop. They are so intimate and fun to watch. Second comment below hers says, brilliant content and advice as always. So happy I found yours and Lane's channels after chit chat with James Smith. So people, I mean, we can go to all of them. I could sit here for hours and read you more and more,
So what is it about them that people like? Because I sit here, I know what I like listening to. I'm probably a really strange and fucked up individual. And when I listen to stuff, I just want like all facts, all knowledge. I want to like learn something new that I don't already know with a little bit of like dry and sarcastic humor. And that's all I want. I don't care about anything else. So when I think about what I do, like, it just doesn't fit what I like. So I'm not sure. Maybe we'll see. I mean, if I get like 100 comments after this video, people are like, you can't stop doing the videos, Holly, then maybe I'll consider it. But for now, in my mind, this is the wrap up for the year because, I mean, it's almost the end of the year. This will be posted on, the 17th of December. So we've got 2 weeks left of the year, really. So I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I guess we'll decide. So this last week has been actually I think I had a little bit more psychological stress. And I felt a few of those, worrisome thoughts creeping back in about my nutrition. So last week, I had talked to you guys about the concept, of just calorie cycling. Super simple, and it truly works. If you have a allotment of calories and let's set your protein aside and that is consistent every day, what you do with the rest, So I had 2 days that were significantly above my maintenance calories. We talked about 3,200 calories on Saturday of last week. And I was like, well, I know that if I just eat these calories for the next few days, things are going to even back out. And honestly, my weight didn't even go up that much. But even for me, as somebody that has been doing this for over 10 years, I still had those a little like peaks of doubt kind of coming in, and I really had to check myself this week. So I just want to reassure you guys that if you did ever practice or experiment with some calorie cycling this week, or you're planning on doing it maybe even next week, because next week is going to be Christmas, and you've probably got some festivities planned, a lot of family time. Generally, we celebrate around food. It's so much intertwined with our culture. I want you to know that it's normal to have those little feelings of doubt about the reality and the science of the human metabolism, but it always without fail comes back. So I wanted to actually show you, we'll go through and have a look at my calorie tracking from last week because I did not manage to hit my deficit targets like I said I was going to in order to get me back into balance. And in fact, consistently, I think it would have required me Monday through to Friday to hit some pretty challenging diet calories. And we still had a pretty modest week of business last week. I wouldn't say it was crazy hectic, but just normal stuff. But I really did struggle. I think I had a lot of residual stuff on my mind, like event planning and organizing stuff, just things that, I don't know, some people probably find it really easy to do. Planning all of your Christmas, getting your foods and everything ready, getting all the gifts done and organized, making sure all your family and extended family are covered. A lot of people I think really enjoy that. I do, but I also I know that I only have this limited amount of space in my brain where I function optimally. And then once I start trying to push more things inside that space, it's like my stress levels like just start expanding. So last week was probably one of those things. I didn't have a lot of difficult tasks. It's just like when you have 1,000 things that you've got to get done, I just know that I was not in my best place from my mental health. So let's go and have a look at last week. I've got the screen recording on. Oh, wait. It's not going to let me show you last week because I have to check in first. So let's do that. So we'll check in. Okay, so it has been, I think, 10 days since I checked in last. It was last Tuesday last week, or even Saturday, I believe. So was I compliant to my macro targets? Now, I entered in everything that I could possibly track. There might be like, I'm going to say maybe 100 or so calories I didn't enter in. So I really tried to do my best at all the little like nips and bites and like, you know, a couple of spoonfuls of the mac and cheese as I'm making the kids dinner, like that kind of stuff. So I really tried hard this week to do that because I wanted to get back on track. I felt like I needed to have a bit of a better week of consistency, but you can see here, I was not compliant to my calorie target range. So you can see the target range, and it's a 2.5% range either side of your goal. So it was 1750 to 1832. That would get me compliant. And I was at 1942 last week as my average. And that's because the front end of my week, I did those 3,200 calorie days. And I kind of set myself up for a pretty difficult week. I thought I'd be able to do it. But I mean, I had to learn that. I think some of y'all, if you watched last week's video, were like, oh, she's asking a lot of herself. I probably was. But I think, you know, it's good to experiment and just try new methods of eating and go, welp, I know that extreme did not work. I'm not going to do that again. And if you repeat the same mistake over and over again, then that is the first sign of you are a crazy motherfucker. So don't do that. So anyway, calories were not compliant. Protein, 159, and my goal was 140 to 148. So I dare say I ate a little bit more protein, and that was, I know, within the efforts to stay under my carb and fat targets. So I would intentionally try to navigate away from those types of foods, but it kind of set me over a little bit in my protein, and that's always been something that I do when I am in a deficit. I'm trying to restrict calories. And then carbs, my target range was 176 to 184. I came out at 193 as my average, so that means there were some days much higher, some days much lower. And then my fat target range was 54 to 56, and I came in at 58. So not a crazy amount over, but not compliant. The two things that we are looking for, the two key things that when you are using Carb and Diet Coach, and to be honest, whether you're working with any coach or some kind of macro target, even if it's something you created on your own, calories are very important for your goal. If you want to lose weight, you need to be eating less calories than you are expending. If you are wanting to gain muscle, then you need to be eating more calories than you are expending. And if you want to maintain, those two things need to be in balance. So that's an overarching rule. Macronutrient distribution is also important. We know protein is key, and the recommended ranges, again, it really depends on what your outcomes are. But if you are trying to optimize hypertrophy and you want to make sure that even resistance, completely independent of resistance training, the research has consistently shown that anywhere from 0 up to about 1.3 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you are going to have increases in lean body mass, independent of resistance training. Obviously, if you now add resistance training on top of that, those hypertrophy gains go up a lot. So protein is important. So they're the things that we're looking at. I went over, so technically I've just had a not so good week. And I also went over my carbs and fats. So no, not compliant this week. But I got on the scales today, and much to the fear that I had this week that I would not get back down, I actually did. And I was over my calories still. So it just goes to show, I think, in response to that really high calorie day, my metabolism kind of adapted to that amount of energy that came in. It's not like all of that was immediately deposited as adipose tissue or fat. what probably happens is there's a thermic effect to that like high amount of food that I ate, and some of it's dissipated as heat. Not all of it is just broken down and metabolized, and now you've just got extra body fat. So I think there's probably an adaptive component when you do eat that much, particularly if it was a lot more from protein. But yeah, I'm surprised that my weight actually did trend back down after just reducing my intake slightly. So I don't know my body fat percentage, but last time I had it taken, it was about 16.2. So we'll just assume maybe it's up a little bit from when I had the photo shoot. Am I close to my menstrual cycle? Yes, it's due today. Haven't got it yet. Need to go and do some high intensity intervals and we'll be good. I'll probably get it. So I'm going to hit next. Does everything look okay? Yes, I was not compliant. Weight correct. Body fat percentage correct. Yes, I'm close to my menstrual cycle. Guys, I can't tell you the number of people who mess this up. There's a confirmation screen and the number of times we'll get people say, I made a mistake. I accidentally hit, I made the wrong entry. So don't rush these, guys. Make sure that you get the information right when you're putting it in. We can fix it for you, don't stress, but just means more work for us. Okay, so doing science. Looks like things didn't go as planned. Oh, that's a common occurrence for me. So they haven't adjusted my calories. They're going to stay exactly where they are. 1791, 144, 180, and 55. And that is in order of calories, protein, carbs, and fats. So that ratio is really good. What I won't be doing this time is experimenting with crazy high calories. Like I said that last week, it wasn't an intentional crazy high. It's just, wasn't a glutton. I ate 4 meals throughout the day. It was just the foods that we had were so dense. And I had a glass of wine or two with dinner. It just adds up. So I think that I will actually probably maintain my weight just fine, which is exactly what I want to do at the moment. I have no intentions of getting back down to a leaner physique. Right now, it's Christmas. It's the new year, everybody's kind of in holiday, relaxing mode, and I just don't think that it's necessary. So let's go back and have a look at my targets for the week, because that's what I wanted to show you. So we'll go we'll go to my calories, and you can see here on the screen, it gives me like all of my data. And it gives you it in a 7-day window. So as you move across to individual days, you can see that the weekly average changes, and that's because it's taking the 7 days in view and telling you what the average is. So if we go from last week, so here's my crazy high day. It was quite fun. The foods were very good, but I don't think I want to live like that all the time. 3,200, but you can see I kind of steadily brought it back down, and then throughout the week I was pretty close to my targets, but you can see here, like my goal was at 1397. So I did okay on Monday, but that's because I wasn't hungry. And now if any of you guys have eaten at that kind of level of calories before, please someone tell me that they did not also experience a couple of days potentially where they just weren't hungry at all. Like I just didn't even think about food. I was like still stuffed from 2 days ago. So I did fine on Monday, but then my hunger kind of returns to normal, and that makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. You don't want to be starving yourself indefinitely. So I actually really struggled to get below 1,600 on Tuesday, 1,578 at a push, 1,518, and then weekend rolls around, more outings, more eating out, back to 2026 just because of the food choices available to me, 1,719, and again, like Saturday, that was really tough. And that's where we are. So that week I had so much anxiety because I knew, or I had in the back of my mind, like I've got to do all these video recordings in the gym next week and I don't want to feel like this. And I think part of the trouble, and I've talked about this before, is when we do have a large, like calorically dense meal, there's also, it's coupled with that distended stomach, the bloated feeling, the GI discomfort. And I think a lot of the time how we feel physically tends to influence our psychology. So I think once that feeling had kind of dissipated, and it took a few days, then I kind of was like, just, get back to reality. Like you're not going to feel like this forever. And that was kind of how I just kept going. And it was like, all right, you'll get there, like just one day at a time. So, yeah, I think I just wanted to share that with you because I know a lot of people really struggle with that, and it can often cause them to repeat that behavior again. It's like the anxiety or stress or guilty feelings that they get from having, a lot of calories or eating some foods that they deemed bad, which, by the way, there are no bad foods. We have foods that are calorically dense, and we have foods that are calorically very low energy density, and you can have any of those in many combinations. It's not like one is going to, be the death of you, unless you have some kind of condition. So that's the disclaimer. But I think a lot of people really struggle with that, and it's important to recognize that some of that discomfort is coming from the physical feeling of eating a lot, but it will go away. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I would overcome those types of situations. So for me, for this week, I guess leading into the rest of the year, my strategies for the next 7 days are going to be as follows. So what have I got going on in the next 7 days? A lot. We've got Lane's birthday, so that is coming up this weekend, and we have guests staying at our home from Wednesday. We have other guests that are not staying with us but close to us, and we're all going to be catching up probably on a daily basis for the next 7 days or so. And we have I guess his birthday, we're going to go on a boat for the afternoon, which will be really nice. It's meant to be a nice day. So then there'll be dinner out after that. We've got reservations the next day. So I have a lot of, there's going to be a lot of energy dense foods. So my strategy is not to fast in the morning. I will be getting up kind of first thing and making sure that the meal that I do have is something that I really look forward to. Like, I really enjoy it. So I'm kind of tripping those pleasure centers like early in the day. If you restrain and completely fast to permit, something crazy and indulgent at the end of the day, what do you think's going to happen? You're already incredibly hungry because we've now got that hormonal change, those physiological hormonal changes that are starting to happen in response to fasting. And we also haven't had any point during the day to kind of trip the pleasure center, which a lot of us will get in response to a meal. So I think you can kind of temper, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. You can temper that response, and the foods that you save up for later in the day can be tempered if you kind of don't put it up on such a high pedestal. If you already have a few things in the morning that you enjoy, that are, I would still say make sure that they are protein containing. Make sure that if you are or do have any physique goals, have some protein in the morning, and then make sure that the remaining meals are high in fiber to help with your satiety so that you're not starving and ravenous, which can lead you to overeat at the end of the day. So I have a go-to meal every morning, which is usually around noon. I kind of do intermittent fasting, and it's like eggs, beef as an omelette, and then a huge bowl of 600 grams of sauteed veggies, and I've got 100 different sauces that I use with that. So it's very filling, very high in fiber for that reason, and it's also very high in protein, and I really love it. And then I might also have another snack, and I usually have something a little bit sweeter to kind of get sweet foods off my mind. So I'll have a fat-free Greek yogurt, and I'll throw some mix-ins in. I might put in a handful of mini choc chips or some kind of treat. I don't know, I've recently been stuck on, I think they're called Heath Bar, but it's crumbled up Heath Bar, which is basically a toffee flavor. So I'll sprinkle some of that into my Greek yogurt, just so that by the time the event rolls around where I know I'm going out for dinner, I'm no longer craving that sweetness. I've had some carbohydrates, so I'm still feeling like I've got plenty of energy. I'm not fatigued. And then I can still kind of enjoy just a nice size, normal portion size of whatever it is that I have at dinner. So that's kind of how I will approach Saturday. We will be having some alcohol, so I'll probably allot a certain amount of my calories to that, and then I'll make good, nutritious, satiating decisions around those drinks. And then moving into the week of the New Year and Christmas, the week of Christmas, we are going to be going away with another family who've got 4 kids, and I know we'll be doing baking, and there'll be lots of little, Christmassy things and treats out. So I think it's important to kind of permit yourself permission to eat some of those things. Like if you restrict, you're only going to have so much cognitive restraint before you go, okay, and then you end up wanting to eat everything in sight. So I would typically say, all right, well, I'll allot a certain amount of my calories per day, or if I don't necessarily look at it like that. Here's some of these foods, I'm just going to have a few of those. Like, it's fine, it's normal, it's okay. And then it kind of takes again, it's like it tempers the hierarchy of foods. It doesn't make that particular food like such a devil's demonized food anymore. It's because, well, I'm giving myself permission to eat it, so there's no longer like this negative association with it. So we'll do that, and then on Christmas Day, we're only having like the one big meal at lunchtime, so I don't think I'll probably need to do anything too crazy for that. I'll probably give myself a higher day, so I'll do some calorie cycling on that day. So from Monday through to Thursday, I might bring my calories down by, say, 100 each day. So if I'm at 1791 right now, I'll probably bring them down to like 1650 or something, or whatever feels manageable. It might fluctuate a little bit from day to day. But then the 100 calories that I've banked up for the last 4 days, I can now add to Friday. So now I can have almost 2200 calories on Christmas Day and still come out compliant to my overall target. So, and that will give me a lot of flexibility. It's only one meal, and then usually you're feeling pretty stuffed after that. And I know that we'll be doing a little bit of activity with the kids on Friday, Christmas Day too. So we're going to be moving around. There's lots going on. It's not like we're just all slumping around on the couch doing nothing. So I think that would be a really good approach for me. So I think that's it for this past week. You'll have to let me know whether you still want me to keep doing these videos, because I have a bit of an idea about some new content that I want to do for 2021. Just experimenting with some new topics, redoing some of the old topics that I did years ago, but adding to it now that we have a better scientific consensus about them. More studies have come out. So that's kind of where I want to go with it. But I also know some of you value just the sit down chit chat and whatever we want to call this. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this week. I hope that some of the tips that I've given you about the holiday approach have been helpful. I hope that you can kind of relate to the fact that I still, being me, having done this for so long, still have those, moments of fear or anxiety about the fact that, oh my God, I did this. What if I can't get back to it? Like, that's a normal feeling, but I think over time, those types of things become easier. It gets better to kind of manage those fears and those concerns. So keep practicing, guys. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's like anything. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.